Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session on mobile dairy. Thanks for joining us. My name is Matt. I work for the Organic Research Centre and for agroecology. We've got a lovely little stand over here, so come and see us and have a chat. We are running these short 25-minute sessions, kind of technical deep dives into subjects like mobile dairy, living mulches. There's one later on today on returning sheep into arable. So, yeah, if you don't want to sit for 55 minutes, come and join us for some more later on. Today I am joined by Tim May from Kingsclere Estate in Hampshire, and Oliver Chedgey from the Roaming Dairy, which is on the Kingsclere Estate. They've also got the best food offering here at Groundswell. So if you want to know what Mad Max would look like if he was cooking a barbecue, just head over to the food stand. You can't miss them. So the Kingsclere Estate, 2,500 acres, farmed regeneratively and organically. I would say that's your characterisation of it. And you apply a holistic approach. The mobile dairy, the roaming dairy, it's a 450 strong herd still, is it? So we're just going to have a chat today. I'm going to talk to them about how they do operations from sort of the landowner's perspective, from the mobile dairy perspective. We're going to throw it open to loads of questions from the audience as well, so don't be shy. And we'll just have a bit of a rambling chat, and hopefully by the end of it you will know how to set up a mobile dairy, whether you're a landowner or an aspiring mobile herds person. So thanks for joining us. So just, Tim, could you give us a bit of an overview of Kingsclere just to kind of set the scene, and in terms of the ethos behind how you run it, because not every landowner wants to have a mobile dairy or a grazier on their land.
Yeah, sure. So, you've done the size. So I guess the biggest thing is I did a Nuffield. Hang on, I thought I'd turn it off. I did a Nuffield scholarship in 2011 and started to review how we were going to farm, and realised that we needed to stop being commodity producing, stop doing monocrops, starting to change the way we were going to farm, use more of our natural resources, so the sunlight and everything else. And I changed a mindset from one of like a reductionist mindset to more where we embrace the amount of abundance we had on the farm, start to see the abundance and to really embrace it. And then I realised if I need to do anything about that, I need people to do it. So.
Yeah, so is the draw the abundance? That's sort of what's the draw to have a mobile dairy? It's abundance. It's to support the mindset shift.
Yeah, so the mobile dairy is an example of where we want to go going forward. So having the reason it's mobile is because we want the benefit of a mobile across the benefit of a dairy farm across the whole estate. So we want to share that whole system. The way we run it up, we set it up with partners is because, or we set this one up with partners and the other operations up with partners is because they can have their own stake in the game and make it work. Very often the systems of things we're thinking about are they're not they're not in a book. We've got to come and work it out ourselves. So we need someone that actually has got that entrepreneurial sort of spirit that can actually get it up and running. Yeah.
Brilliant. So Ollie, from your perspective, you running the roaming dairy, can you just give a bit of your background so that you weren't raised a dairyman's son, I don't believe?
No. So I'm a first generation farmer. So I grew up on probably, I don't know, a small holding. We had 10 acres and we had a Jersey house cow that we hand milked as a child, probably when I was 8. So I guess that's my passion. Never really set out to be a dairy farmer, but wanted to be a farmer. And just dairy farming, just kind of the opportunity with Tim arose, and it was about 1,000 acres opportunity. And I just felt it fitted dairy more. But then Tim put the stumble block in that had to go over every inch. So then we had to think again. So that's how we become mobile, so we could go over every inch of the pasture.
Yeah, so can we just to give a sort of very broad brushstrokes overview of the setup? So it's to touch every corner of every bit of land on the farm. But that wasn't the original setup. It started out as a 1,000-acre proposition.
No. So it's as part of the rotation. So the rotation is 4 years of grass, 4 years of crops. So half the farm is always in grass, and then that's where you get to your 1,000 acres. So in the rotation, we have a first year lay second year lay, third year lay, and fourth year lay. The young stock would go on the first year lay. The dairy cows milking go on the next 2 years, and then the final year, that's where we make hay for then out wintering, and then it goes into cereals. 4 years of cereals after that.
So that proposition of like, come and do this, it's 1,000 acres of grazing land. You've got the herd's 450, is it?
Yeah, so I've come from a beef and sheep, so I've still got that, which is all on tenanted ground. So that was my next progression up the farming ladder as such. So Tim pretty much provided me with a hose pipe fitting and an electric point, but that was already in place.
Very generous landlord.
Yeah.
Oh, you had fencing.
Sorry, there was fencing there as well. But it's that stumbling block of the capex of how you start a dairy farm. The landlord wasn't prepared to put the capital in. The agreement was only 5 years, and a lot of these FBTs now are only 5 years with the changing of the subsidies and stuff. So, and I wasn't going to borrow that much money on a 5-year deal. If I leave concrete on Tim's farm, then that's my asset. So all my pieces of equipment I own, if you tip Tim's estate upside down, my bits come off. So I've invested in stuff that I can move.
Brilliant. In terms of kind of high overview of the operations, size of herds, breeds, why that breeds, what other breeds could you be using?
Again, so there's no buildings, so we're out wintering. So again, it's listening to other people saying that you need a light cow to outwinter. Tim has some heavy flints, heavy clay, chalk, all sorts of soil types, and we were worried we were going to rip up the ground too much. So we started with a Jersey cross Frisian cow, and our aim was like a 480 kilo cow. But as we've gone on now in year 6, we can probably carry a heavier cow. So we're probably trying to push that cow up maybe to 520, because they do seem to cope with it.
And is that by learning from what the ground can take, or because the ground's improved because of the rotational grazing that you're doing?
Through learning, if anything, the improvement is at growing topsoil, so it's probably making it worse rather than better for outwintering.
That's interesting. So you could have gone heavier in the beginning. And just another one for you, Ollie. Talking about milking, so how often, how long, how much a day, how much labour is required?
So when we set this up, I was quite busy with the beef and sheep farm. Pretty much worked quite hard to set this up. And when I said to my wife I was going to become a dairy farmer, we didn't really talk for quite a while after that. So then we sat down and I said, no, I can milk them once a day. And she didn't even think that was a thing. I said, no, I'll milk them once a day. I'm going to spring calve them, and I'm never going to milk Christmas Day. So I've stuck to those principles. And we're mobile, so you can't stress this system. So the first question most people ask me is, what do you do in the winter? And I say, go at home. So we dry the cows off 1st of December, and we don't start again till the 10th of March. That first 3 weeks of calving, the parlour's sat on a hard standing point until we get up to about 100 cows, and then we're going out in the fields then. We're milking 450 cows at the moment. We start putting the cups on at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it takes about 4 hours to milk them, and then probably an hour to wash down, take the milk down.
Is that you on your own, or you got labour as well?
I could say just me, but there's people here that do it. So the first year I did it all on my own, but we were milking 180, and I had someone to help me for the first 6 weeks, and then I did the whole thing on my own. And as we've grown, so now we'd employ 2. It's basically a three-person unit. You can do it with 2, but if something goes wrong, then you need that extra person. So 3 people would be the ideal.
And when you're away at Groundswell for 2 days, the team can still operate. It means people can have holidays. It's not a strain and a stress. There's no relief milkers coming in.
No, we don't have any relief milkers. It's quite a unique system. You have to be kind of a mechanic, tractor driver, herdsperson. Staff-wise, it's better to have a non-agricultural person that we can train up. Then I don't think you can have a herdsman come into this system unless they're willing to change. And at the same token, I don't think you can have a tractor driver become a herdsman.
Just looking at it from your perspective, Tim, you mentioned the rotation. I just wondered, is there anywhere that you don't want them on the farm, or it is literally everywhere where you're arable cropping?
Yeah, so I don't want them on permanent pasture because that's a waste of fertility. Don't want them in a shed too much because I can rent that out for more money. Yeah.
Brilliant. And considerations for what you're putting to grass after arable, and the grazing considerations. Are you playing around with different things? Are you discussing with Ollie how the calves are fattening and the milk levels, or are you just kind of, are you winging it? How does that work?
We would never wing a thing. No, it's not our style at all. Lots of consideration goes into it. So herbal aids they're amazing because they give you the answers. So wherever we got a bare patch or different soil, then the different species comes in. So it kind of does the work for us. When it comes to the crops, so organic crops are a much bigger challenge than the organic grassland and organic production. So that's where we're sort of focusing a bit of effort at the moment. Currently, the rotation is like a spring oats type thing that comes after the grass, providing I can get Ollie's cows off the ground quick enough because they outwinter. April. The cows are still on the ground potentially in April, so you kind of have to work your rotation a bit with that. And then we go with a couple of winter crops and then an undersown spring crop. Yeah.
Are there any considerations that have come in the last few years when you're looking at SFI or ELMS or countryside stewardship and you're going, oh God, we need to change this, move that, can't put them there?
No, it's the other way around. So we do what we're going to do first and then let the stuff fit in. But that does mean part of the holistic management stuff we do with the big, the goals that we've got, spending more time with family, etc. SFI has come along at a really good time for me and my family. I've got a war in August. I don't want to work in August. We want to do as little work as we can do in August because that's when the kids are away from school. So we're doing more legume fallows and that sort of stuff for the next 3 years. I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to have the sort of money we're getting. So yeah, we're doing less cropping now, and using that opportunity to really learn how to be better at cropping. So just taking all the pressure off and focusing on 100 hectares, not 400 hectares of cropping. So yeah, we have used it, and that kind of fits in really well with our goals.
Yeah, does it fit in well with the dairy operations because you've got more and more land to work, or you can create more.
Yeah, well, if you can find a little bit of black grass in your legume fallow, then you need to cut and remove it. So yeah.
Brilliant. Ollie, jumping back into the kind of technical bits, I was chatting to a farmer about this, and he said, you need to ask them about moving the kit. How do you move it? How difficult is it? How do you fit it in with the grazing rotation? Are you fencing, back fencing? How easy is it to move? What are you doing in the winter? All things related to that.
Can't say you wing it.
It doesn't do gateways. It is a big bit of kit, but we're only moving it about 100 yards every day. So everyone's like, must take hours. So it would take us probably 30 minutes to move. And I always say to people, by the time they walk their cows back down a cow track, I would have moved my parlour for the day. So the Tim's fields would probably be quite large, probably average 80, 100 acres. So when we go into the block, we'd fence them into 6 hectare paddocks. With just single wire and Clip-X posts. So it's a really quick and easy job to do. And then we lay water pipes out. So we got it for 5 years, so we put a little bit of infrastructure in. Again, it's not very much time involved in that, and not that much cost. Winter, obviously, we try and put the bells out weekly if we can, so we're not taking the tractor in. But yeah.
Yeah, or round bales at the moment, putting round bales out like next week in straight lines for the winter.
Yeah, so sort of have your grazing plan set for winter and that kind of bale grazing. And you said November's when you put them in, or they just stay out but they're dry, are they?
The cows? Or
yeah. They stay out all year, but you're not milking from November. Yeah,
so the cows never go in the shed. So the cows and calves would come in for 24 hours, and then the calf would stay behind. The cow goes outside. And then the calf would be in for maybe 3 weeks, and then she's gone outside, and that's the only time in her life that she'll be on concrete.
And what are you doing for shade and shelter? So really hot days, terrible weather days. You know, it's not every field is going to have some space, or do you try and accommodate that as you go?
Yeah, it's again, it's looking at the weather, forward planning. It's ever changing because we're mobile, so every day is a different system or problem to face. So when we went up to 38 degrees one day, we saw the weather coming. We manipulated the grazing so we were next to a wood. We whacked a wire around the wood, milked the cows, and then let them go in the wood. They all ran in there. They stayed in there for about half an hour, had great fun in there. And then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 38 degrees, they're out grazing. But we gave them the option.
Yeah, I think that is trying to find the option for them is the way to go. If you've got a sick, lame animal, what do you do with it? There's obviously plenty of buildings at the Kingsclere Estate, but is it a bit more of a rigmarole because you might be that much further away?
Tim's pointing at the roaming smoker. So we're in our 6th year now, and we've never lifted a cow's foot up. We've never treated a cow with antibiotics with our feet. We get sick animals like any other dairy farm. We have got a sick pen, an isolation pen, so they can come to. So it's only a case of putting her in a trailer and bringing her back to the barn.
Tim, from your side as a kind of landowner, but it's a share farming agreement, right? How does that look from a legal side? What are your kind of considerations? Is it quite standard, or have you got something bespoke in place?
So yeah, we used a land agent to set it up, the share farming agreement, and I'm really keen that we both had the same amount of investment, the same amount of return on investment involved. So how it works is that we work out all the costs of running the business, put them on a spreadsheet, and work out who's going to pay what. That gives us a proportion of what we both put into running the business, and then when the milk sales start to come, we then share the milk accordingly, or the milk money accordingly. So Ollie never had to pay rent to start with. We're both focused on milk production, and for me that's the best way because we've both got the same drive, and that's how we then run other enterprises exactly the same way.
Yeah, but it's the kind of culture that goes through the whole of Kingsclere. You used to have a mobile egg operation as well, so it's not the first time you've engaged in this sort of thing. You mentioned needing entrepreneurial spirit, but what else, if you were talking to another landowner, what should they be looking for in the people who they might want to bring in to do this or partner with?
I think people give up too quick. I see it with sheep and other things that they go in and say, oh yeah, I've got this estates, I've got this herd of sheep and I need to change it, and someone goes in and does the work, and then maybe like 6 months, 8 months later, they've moved on because they didn't achieve the things that the estate thought was going to happen, and that's just stupid because it's 2 years, 3 years to actually make change happen. So you've got to be understanding that it's not about chucking money, it's about time and that sort of thing. So yeah, you've got to be prepared. You've got to have a long-term vision, a purpose. Why you're doing it, and then you can check back with yourself when things start to drift. Actually, are we still on track? And if you don't have that purpose, it all goes a bit. Yeah.
Ollie, from your perspective, as a mobile grazier, what does a good day look like?
Today.
Okay, got it. Excellent. And a bad day?
Tomorrow. So I say to everyone, there's probably 2 weeks in March where it's not great, and then there's probably 2 weeks at the back end of the year, end of November. But I mean, we will milk into December, but we don't really budget for milk in December. So if we get to December and we're dry, we'll go for another 10 days. But we have dried off on the 20th of November before. It's a very low input system, and so you just can't be greedy. If the weather goes against us late November, the cows don't want to be milked, the people don't want to be in there milking. So I might lose some staff members and get an extra bit of milk, but then I'm trying to recruit people next year.
Yeah, and you never really want to recruit an R&R system in November because they don't last very long. You want to get them in May when it's nice and sunny, and then they can then look forward to the summer again as they're going through the winter. That seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I just wondered from your perspective, good day, bad day. I know you're involved in it a lot, but you're also a bit removed with your sort of landowner's hat on as well. And I wondered if any particular things like you're seeing Ollie's happy, the cows are happy versus what's the when things are not going well.
I don't know. I think for us, what we're learning about our land is that it's still not resilient enough. Like we're always sort of 2 weeks away from a drought, and actually, a good day for me will be when we can have 4 weeks of dry and still have happy cows. That would be amazing. Or not that are unhappy, but happy grass and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of long-term stuff. I don't know. I love holding up the traffic. So we've got a main road there that's 17,500 cars a day. And when we cross the road and we just stop everything and the cows walk down the road and stuff like that, I just love that. It's just reconnecting it all. And putting ourselves out there. Yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant. I've got a couple more questions, but I'm really conscious of time, and there's a lot of people here. So I'd like to open up the floor for questions. So any questions out there? Over in the corner here.
Sorry, I missed this at the beginning. Where does the milk go, and how hard is it to have a milk contract with somebody when you're only offering it for a stint in the year? The extension of that is, if everybody did what you did, how would there be any milk processing, and who would make up the shortfall?
We've got a Arla organic contract. We're very lucky to have got that. So we're spring block, so we're allowed. We don't have to produce milk every day of the year because Arla is quite a big co-op. So they'll have autumn covers, but some contracts would stipulate you have to have milk all year round.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, well done. It's an amazing thing. I missed that off the beginning of it. Sorry.
Next question, we're down here, please.
I was just wondering if you could expand on kind of what your calf rearing system looks like.
So we use sex semen for 21 days to get our replacements. So they're in the barn until they're strong enough. If the weather's fine, they go out at 2-3 weeks. But this year they stayed in probably till 5 weeks. They're in groups of 45 in paddocks, and they're just fed on a trial feeder for 12 weeks. We're rearing a few of the beef through, and then a lot of the beef we're selling at probably 3 weeks old.
Any more questions out there? Over here? Just while this lady's walking, how you're using the ex-dairy for the food as well, right? That's kind of their end-of-life plan, Dignitas.
Yeah, so that's all the roaming smoker. Using the roaming dairies, cull cows to try and add value to them is part of our showing that abundance mentality. So how can we get that circular economy working? How can we take something that is like a byproduct and add value to it? And to do that, we need more partners. We need people, and that's where Pitch Up comes in, which is a November call to action for people to come in and pitch their business ideas to us. We don't want to give the ideas out particularly because then we'd end up running it. We want people to come to us with their ideas, really. So.
Brilliant. We'll talk a bit more about that at the end. So this gentleman over here. If there's a problem with the mic, you might just have to shout. There's been a bit of an issue with it.
Okay, I'm guessing you've got quite a good network of tracks or something around the farm, and I couldn't quite hear the number of cows you're milking, but I'm guessing you're 5,000-6,000 litres a day into a bulk tank. How do you get the bulk tank off the land where a tanker can pick it up?
Milking 450. Yes, it's about 5,000 litres a day. So we started off with a little trailed tank behind the tractor. There's about 2,500 litres, and then as we've expanded, I went to. I didn't go to Belgium. I found a website because a lot of the milk tanks in this country are the Arctic ones that would be too big to cart around the field. So we've got a Mercedes 4-wheel drive diff lock 11,000 litre lorry, which is my favourite part of the day. No one else likes driving it, but I do. So Arla effectively could suck the milk out straight out of that tank. But then when we looked through the process of they'd have to have a hand basin to wash their hands, a dry towel and a roof over their head and a level, we didn't want to do anything to scupper our contract. So Tim's put a building up at Pit Hall on the main farm. So I deliver the milk there, pump it into the bulk tank, and then Arla pick it up from there. So as far as Arla driver is concerned, it's just a normal bulk tank. It probably takes them a few weeks to work out the question of where does the milk come from? And when I say it's 1.5 kilometres that way, then the next question is, how does it get down here? And I have had a question of, is it piped under the ground?
We have got time for one more question. Is there one more? Oh.
Hi. You mentioned increasing the weight of the cows. How are you going to do that? And then you were just talking about sex semen. How does the AI work? Where does that happen?
Yeah, only through genetics. So we'd have cows at a 550 and we'd have cows at a 480. It was just that we were selecting basically as on their size what they look like is what straw we'd use. So now we're confident we can probably go a bit bigger, and that's mainly probably to carry a bit more milk and for that calf to come through, because the processors won't pay on those small carcasses. So we're trying to have an output for all of the produce. AI is a bit of fun for 21 days. So we have an AI tech comes in. They normally come between 8 and 9. So we're milked the first 200 because the collecting yard is quite busy. You can't pull out the bulling cows. So we like to milk 200. And if there's a bulling cow in those first 200, then we hold her behind a wire. They're not used to being held behind a wire because they've already come in to be milked, and then all their mates are grazing, and then they're like, well, I don't want to stay in here. So there's a bit of running around for 21 days, hence why we do it for 21 days. After 21 days, we just put stock balls in.
So we are pretty much out of time. I just wanted to, Tim, you mentioned pitch up. Do you want to just give an explanation of what that is? So,
Yeah, okay. So pitch up is our call to action to people to pitch their farming ideas to help us with this abundance issue that we have to try and get more people on farm. But we've realised that as well as us having this problem of putting out, wanting people to come on our farm, that there's other farms that are in exactly the same position. So last year we were joined by Balcaskey up in Scotland. So there were 2 farms on Pitch Up on the Pitch Up and Grow website. And then this year, hopefully there'll be another 2 or 3 farms coming on. And what we found is that to attract the people like Ollie, like Chris on the roaming smoker, we kind of need to put ourselves a bit further away from the agricultural world and just get into the non-farming world a bit. And that takes a bit of time and money to actually do that, to do the promotion, to tell people that we exist, and these opportunities exist. So that's why we need more farmers to get together to help spread the cost of actually doing it. So these initiatives have been done in the past, generally not for profit. So they last for as long as the funding lasts, and then they stop. But because this is done for us commercially, we can actually have a bit more longevity to the whole lot.
So if I had an idea that was, I want to make halloumi from your excess milk, that's the kind of thing might be able to plug into Kingsclere or one of the other farms that are on the website.
Halloumi. If you want to make a hazel coffin for our burial ground, that would be amazing. I want to find a use for our hazel woodlands. Literally the ideas in my head are crazy.
And that's why mobile dairy is on Kingsclere, right? Because it starts up there. So brilliant. We're going to have to leave it there, folks. A big thank you to Tim, to Ollie, and to Dave on sound. Thank you very much.